What's up, everyone? This is Christian Duke. You're watching Strength Addicts TV, listening to Strength Addicts Radio, available at StrengthAddicts.com and StrengthAddictsRadio.com, and all social media platforms. I am joined today by IFBB Pro Gina Cavaliero from Tampa Bay, Florida. Gina, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Christian. It's fun to be on again.
Awesome, for sure. Yeah, we did an Instagram earlier in the week, I believe, and it was really, really good. But this format is so much better, I think, in the sense that, and nothing against Instagram, we all love Instagram, but this is more so for Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and of course, SoundCloud for the MP3 format. So there's so much to talk about. You know, you are a pro women's bodybuilder in a very, very exciting area of the country. Everyone's looking at Tampa. That's Tim Gardner's backyard. That's where the iconic powerhouse is down there. And so many fantastic shows like the New York Pro actually are going to Tampa. So tell us a little bit about your neck of the woods and what the fitness scene is like there.
You know, it's definitely growing. I mean, Tampa's always kind of been a bodybuilding mecca, if you will. Certainly not like where it originated in Venice Beach, you know, out in California, but Tampa's always kind of had its stake on the map for a while. I remember meeting Emery Milner, I think is her last name, at Tampa International Airport like years ago, like the day after I decided to get into bodybuilding, and learning that there was like more women bodybuilders in Tampa than in any other place. There was like this big concentration. So it's always kind of had that allure for some reason. I don't know if it's just because it's warm. You know, right now the rest of the country is getting pounded. I don't know if you are where you're at, but it was 78 here today.
We're definitely getting pounded. It's Louisville, Kentucky's where I'm at. And
oh yeah, so yeah.
I used to think that the more north you went, the colder it got, but that's totally been debunked because Texas is way south of us and they're getting it bad.
I know.
But you know, it's interesting too, because it used to be that the tri-state area, you know, New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut, and it still is, but that used to be the real stronghold of women's bodybuilding. But I really think you're right. I think Tampa Bay
up there used to be that kind of centralized area, huh?
Absolutely. And really it's not even Florida, it's Tampa Bay. That's really very specific as to where women's bodybuilding has really flourished. The Rising Phoenix shows. I see you're wearing your Wings of Strength shirt.
That has a lot to do with, I think it has a lot to do with Tim Gardner. You know, Tim Gardner Productions, TG Flex. You know, this is his backyard. It's where Tim lives. And I mean, he puts out a lot of incredible shows. And obviously he, you know, linked pinkies with Wings of Strength when Wings of Strength first came on the scene. I guess that was probably 2016, maybe a little bit before then. You know, it was always, it seemed like immediately it was Tim Gardner and Wings of Strength. So, you know, I think that's certainly helped put Tampa on the map. It's Tim having, you know, this is home.
Yeah, you're so right. I mean, I think a couple of important collaborations that Jake did, I think one was Tim Gardner and later Dan Solomon. But you know, honestly, Tim has really helped put the division back on the map. And yeah, you hit the nail on the head right after. So at first, the Miss International was the first to go at the Arnold Classic. And then the year after, when Iris retired with 10, they basically shelved women's bodybuilding at the Olympia level. And almost, you know, immediately when that happened, Wings of Strength, just like a rising phoenix, you know, from the ashes of, you know, women's bodybuilding, it emerged. And for the next 5 years, it almost ran parallel to the Olympia and to these other shows. And it became such a powerhouse that, you know, it's like, not only was it the return of women's bodybuilding, but it was bigger than it ever was.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, I mean, you know, Jake Wood hit a home run when he, you know, created Wings of Strength. And I mean, obviously he poured a lot of his own investment and time and energy and love into women's bodybuilding. But it worked, you know. He's created quite the empire now. I mean, if you consider him, you know, the Olympia, muscular development too, right? That was part of the deal when he bought the Olympia, I think.
Well, no, when he bought the Olympia, he got the Weider publication. So he got Flex magazine and Muscle and Fitness and hers. But no, but you're right. He got a lot of, not MD, but he got a lot of great magazines.
He got all the other ones.
All the other ones. Exactly. Yeah. Before he bought Weider AMI, well, he didn't buy AMI, but before he bought the Weider publications, and the Olympia, all that was left was Flex and MD. I mean, Muscle Mag had gone away, and Ironman is no longer. Ironman covers a natural
Right.
bodybuilding. Yeah, so there's nothing else. But yeah, and you're right. And the thing is, I remember, like, if you go to the Arnold Classic or to the Olympia, like for example, Denise Messino, her booth, the muscle pinup girls booth, they have people around the block, and it's a it goes against the stereotypical, like, haters of women's bodybuilding like to say only schmoes like women's bodybuilding. It's not true, because the lines, there was jack guys. I mean, jack bodybuilders. There was regular looking guys. There was some schmoes too, nothing against schmoes, but there's all sorts of people, and there was a lot of women too. And I think what it is,
Fan
yeah,
base. It may not be as big as the open men's bodybuilders, but we've had fans. I mean, look at Hella Trevino, 300,000 followers on Instagram, and Marvelous Marge, and I mean, there's certainly some big names in women's bodybuilding, and we're filling seats again, so that's huge. As long as we keep doing that, we're going to keep making the sport grow. I think everybody, as far as the athletes, are like on the same page with that, as far as doing whatever we can to help women's bodybuilding to continue to flourish. Nobody wants to see happen what happened again.
no, absolutely. And I really think, going back to Denise Messino and the muscle pinups and the big expos, I think it's all about how you market it. And I don't think that, up until about 2015, basically women's bodybuilding was like slowly dying. And I think, they were allowing it to die because the interest wasn't there. Jake Wood comes out, markets it the way it needs to be marketed, along with his fabulous team, because he has a lot of great people around him as well. And it's a home run. It's a home run. But the thing too, like you said, hopefully, what happened, the demise never happens again, because it got to a point where you had ladies that were, scaling down. We talked about this a little bit on Instagram, but they were scaling down to women's physique. Now, building muscle is hard work, but to lose it is even harder, and it's demoralizing. You're basically forcing yourself to lose everything you worked so hard to gain. I mean, it's horrible.
I'm doing all that work and effort and investment. I mean, it's not cheap either. I mean, if I added up the amount of money I've literally poured into my body and supplements and food and training and coaches, thousands and thousands of dollars, well, probably over 100,000, it's a lot. It's a huge investment. So, yeah, I want to continue to grow and get bigger. And then the beautiful part about that with women's bodybuilding, there's no limit. I can do that. My only limitation is because I'm really short. So how much can my frame manage muscle wise and mass wise? So that remains to be seen.
And yeah, and to your point earlier about how it may not be as popular as the men's open, it may not be right now, but it may be one day. And Dan Dillon, the Mayor of Bodybuilding, John Romano, guys like that, historians of the sport. Ruth Silverman, she's a historian of the sport. They'll tell you that back in the day, women's bodybuilding would pack the house at the Feld Forum, and it was a standalone event. There was no men's bodybuilding; it was only women's bodybuilding. So it definitely has a potential to do that, and Jake can make that happen.
Or fitness before physique.
No, I totally agree. I really think that there needs to be more exposure. And one of the things that I think was really cool, Gina, is that they had Iris Kyle, at least in the marketing. Iris had, some health issues, literally just like a day or two before the 2020 Olympia, but she was very much included. Yaksani took the stage, which was great, 2005 Miss Olympia. But you're so right. I mean, the biggest stars in women's bodybuilding, we only see them like once or twice a year. So there needs to be something more to get the names and the sport out there.
Definitely. So, and I don't know what type of marketing kind of campaign or branding that needs to happen. And I think we just need to embrace that it's very normal for women to look this way. I think that's the big caveat, is that, we're the extreme. Society says men should have muscle, women shouldn't. But that's not the case. So we not only are we setting an example, in my opinion, and I think a lot of other female bodybuilders feel the same way, is that we're kind of sending a message out to society saying, you know, we're women and we can look however we want. We don't think that muscle's just for men, and certainly not big muscles.
And it's so strange to me because we never hear like folks say, "Oh, that's a masculine looking physique." And what does that mean? Is men's physique masculine? Is classic masculine 212 or open masculine? It's absurd. But with women, you know, the idea, this whole concept of femininity is so like weird to me. And it's like, you're right. I mean, you know, muscle knows no gender, and you know, each division has a certain look, but it seems the muscular divisions used to be, not so much anymore thanks to Wings of Strength, but the more muscular divisions used to not get as much love. And it's like, I don't get it. And as you also pointed out, women's bodybuilding started it all. You know, all these other divisions, nothing against them, but they all,
This is sure.
yeah, they all joined the party after women's bodybuilding put women on the map. So I think that I think there needs to be more sisterhood. And again, as a guy, it probably sounds weird for me saying that, but I do think now the climate has changed. And I think all the divisions are pretty, you know, secure with themselves and don't need to throw shade on each other, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think having lost it and having gone away and come back, I mean, I think the reception at the Olympia was pretty indicative of the climate in the sport now. I think everybody realizes that booting women's bodybuilding was a mistake, and everybody's very glad to see it back. I mean, it was definitely well received at the Olympia. You know, top billing. It wasn't a side stage, sideshow kind of deal. It was right up there, and I think everybody loved it too.
So when you're in the gym, I mean, what is it that you want to achieve with women's bodybuilding? Why did you? I mean, you picked it because you love muscle, as you said. You want to look the way you want to look. But what do you ultimately want to achieve? You've got the pro card now, and what are your
Yes, what
goals?
you know, so for me, it was always to become a pro. So it was literally the day that I decided to compete. I mean, the day I was, you know, that was it. Okay, I'm going to be a pro bodybuilder. It wasn't ever, I shouldn't say it wasn't ever just to do it for fun. Granted, I absolutely do it for fun. I love it. It's a blast. But I always had an agenda. It was always become a professional athlete. And now it's on to the next goal. The next goal for me is the Olympia. Um, do I want to win it? Sure. Do I think I can? Maybe. You know, I really I wish if I could change one thing in my life, it would have been to start bodybuilding when I was 20 something. You know, if I had started this 30 years ago, I think I would have had several Olympians under my belt. You know, starting it at 45, you know, I'm working with Hella. She's my coach now. And I can't tell you how many times she's looked at me and said, what you've done in the short amount of time you've done, it's incredible. She's like, I can't believe you put on the size you have and the time frame you have. And I think part of that was because I've worked like a fiend, literally. You know, I've always thought I had this very short window. You know, I'm like, oh my God. And the goal was to get my card by the time I'm 50, because I'm like, that's it. I'm going to be 50 and I'll be over. You know, I won't be able to compete. You know, how long can I do this, or how long will I want to do this? But now I think I have a good 5 years of competition ahead of me where I can be seriously competitive. You know, before I get to upper 50s, 60. I mean, that's just horrible. I don't even want to think about that, but it's
Well,
not that.
but I have to politely disagree because, you know, there were some big names not too long ago, ladies like Betty Pariso, who's an amazing promoter, Lisa Auckland. I mean, you know, well into their 50s, they were placing top six, you know, with Iris Kyle and Diana Cadeau and Yaxani Ariquin. I mean, they were really in the mix. And, you know, on the one hand, you know, and when you said you could have won Olympias had you started younger, that's how you have to think. The only thing I would constructively critique is when you say, could you win an Olympia? And you say, maybe. Maybe is better than no, but you got to think like you can win it. I mean, you really got to think that way, because the one thing that is sexist but is true, women look better as they age. Men tend to fall apart. That's one. And two, the fact you didn't compete starting at 25 also means your body is not, you're not going to run your body into the ground as someone who competed when they were 25. So you're starting later, but your body's also not been exposed to all the stresses of a long time competing.
True. It's true. It's a good point. And you're right. I mean, yeah. Do I want to win the Olympia one day? Can I? Yeah, I can. Right now, that's not my first and foremost goal. My goal is just to get on that stage, and to have just a great first year. I did my pro debut immediately after winning my pro card at Chicago. But this is the year to bring significant improvements. I know what I need to do, and I'm on track to do it. So I'm just really excited about bringing something this year that the judges are going to be like, oh, okay, she's serious,
Well, I know, but some of the folks may not know. So tell us where you turned pro and how is it that you were able to compete as a pro literally before the ink was dry on your card?
Right. So that was the Miss International, which is the only pro qualifier that is just solely for women's bodybuilding. I think that might have come out about the same time Rising Phoenix was developed, I'm assuming, because it's a wings to strength production. And it definitely caters to an international, athlete pool. So people that come from around the world for it. And the class winners are awarded pro cards. So they have a lightweight, I think a light heavy, and a heavyweight. So I won the lightweight division, brought it down over 13 pounds lighter than I was last year to come in as a lightweight this year. I felt that if I got it down to lightweight, I felt I could win as a lightweight. Nobody was going to beat me there. So, so basically you do that show, and then Chicago Pro is immediately after, literally like an hour later. So you sign the contract for IFBB, and boom, you're on stage an hour later, which is pretty cool.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And, I think that, with how hard you work between, with clients, your self-training with your superstar coach, and being in this area of the country, of the world, really, Tampa Bay, which is just so hopping for muscular women and bodybuilding in general. I think that's amazing. I also see you wearing a lot of Titan clothes, which is really cool, and Titan Medical supporting sponsor of StrengthAddicts. I think that's awesome. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, Titan's a huge name here in Tampa. If you're in the fitness industry, if you're just not even in fitness and you're looking for weight loss, they have weight loss therapies there as well, and hormone therapies. So, and there's a lot of different companies that kind of sprouted up over the last several years with hormone replacement therapy and stuff. I think Titan's kind of, was one of the first ones here. They've been here a while. They've got a great reputation. They've got really cool swag. That's what I got. I got a bunch of it from last year. And it's good quality stuff too, so, not only are you, repping Titan, which is a cool company, but it's good stuff. It's not like you mind wearing it either. So, but I would love to rep them more and be an athlete with them. So hopefully that's in the hopefully near distant future.
I hope so too. And you really hit the nail on the head. They are extremely respected. They have, some of the strongest ties to the NPC and the IFBB Pro League, sponsoring and title sponsoring shows, which is, that really, action speaks so much louder than mere words. They've really put their money where their mouth is, and they've really supported bodybuilding and bodybuilders and physique-based athletes like no other. So I would love to see you with Titan one day, and it looks like they're liking a lot of your stuff, which has got to make you feel good as well.
Yeah,
so definitely. So I think with regards to the fitness industry as well, like we talked about, Titan Medical, our supporting sponsor, and then of course Blackstone Labs, our title sponsor for StrengthAddicts. I'd love to see you do stuff with them too. The fitness industry is so, on the one hand, it's so cutting edge, but it's also cutthroat. It really, and then I don't mean to suggest cutthroat in the sense that backstabbing or hateful or negative, but it's cutthroat in the sense that you have got to be on your game. You have got to want it. You've got to, it's almost like getting a pro card, getting sponsored and having the support of companies and getting exposure. It really is almost like getting a pro card. You've got to be that good. And I believe that you are.
Thank
but
you.
others are not. Others just kind of like, covering like the big shows also. Like I've interviewed people that when they get their pro card, they just expect everything to just rain down on them. And that's not this industry.
No, not at all. I mean, I do think that doors open for you once you do get your pro card. And I think a lot of times in life you can kind of um, encourage more and more doors, if you will. For me, my experience getting my pro card's been a lot of opening doors. But I also wanted it to be that. I used to have a coach a couple years ago that used to tell me, his experience was very different. And he used to say, well, don't expect things to change when you get your pro card. You're still going to be a nobody, not that I'm not a nobody right now, but the opportunities are limitless. I've got that pro card. Now it's like, hey, take notice because I can do and be anything I want. And I'm going to be a champion bodybuilder. So, watch out,
Absolutely. Yeah. And without a doubt. And, the, as they say, the NPC is the only road to the IFBB Pro League, and the IFBB Pro League is the only road to the Olympia. And that, and that's why I'm so happy, A, that Jake Wood bought the Olympia, and B, that the Miss Olympia returned, because while the Wings of Strength Women Championships was an amazing show, the prize money, my gosh, amazing. The decked out Jeep, amazing. But to me, to be the best, you've got to be a Mr. or Miss Olympia. And so to have the Olympia back for women's bodybuilding is so huge. And I hope the Miss International comes back to the Arnold Classic as well. And because really, there's so many women like yourself that maybe might be 25 today, and maybe they will have the opportunity to do what you couldn't do at 25. And it's not because of lack of trying or discipline. It wasn't there. It just
right.
wasn't there. Now it is.
Yeah.
So I think
Everything in its own due time and place, for some reason, I didn't start bodybuilding when I was 20 or 25. It took till 45 before I realized, hey, this is something I can do. Something I've always wanted to do. I mean, literally, when I was 20, I did want to do it. It was just never the right time. Didn't have the resources, and then finally it was. And, it's just, when you want something incredibly bad, there's no stopping you. I think a lot of people don't just have that conviction and believe in themselves. And, I mean, if you had told me when I was 45 that I would be a pro athlete, I'd be like, are you kidding me? But I am. And it's, again, it's manifestation. It's believing in the positive. It's taking all those steps. And, do we get negative? Sometimes, sure. Nobody's 100% positive all the time. But you have to be able to recognize when you are and change it. I think that's probably one of the most critical key things.
So Gina, let's talk a little bit about that though, with regards to being positive and of course some of the negativity that's in the industry. How do you deal with that, like in terms of haters and trolls and just negative people, and usually faceless people like on Instagram or I don't know, YouTube or whatever? Like how do you deal with that? Do you ignore? Do you engage? Do you?
Most of the time I ignore it. Sometimes I engage, and it never goes positive. But sometimes you're just in a mood and you just want to get back at them. But when I finally got my first hater years ago, somebody said, "Hey, you've arrived. Congratulations. You obviously build a physique worthy enough to be hated on." I'm like, "Oh, okay.
Well,
all right, I can do that." So
yeah.
I don't know if you saw it. There was a picture of me, and it was several of the Olympians. It was after Miss Olympia, and we all went to, I think, Bahama Breeze in Orlando. And there was a group picture that we took afterwards, and it was on Instagram, it was on Facebook, and it became a couple memes. Did you see either of them?
No.
You didn't. So they went viral.
Really?
Yes. So
I'm in my own little StrengthAddicts cocoon, so sometimes I don't see.
Yeah. So, they had, I think, 500,000 shares on one page, and
wow.
so the memes themselves were kind of off color, if you will, but they were funny. It was humor. Poking fun at us. But the comments were kind of rough. People were pretty mean.
Well, it's interesting, and I don't, the one thing I don't like about women's bodybuilding that was happening a little bit, I think, kind of, because women's bodybuilding, like the Olympia, when that went away, that was like the death knell. But there was several years leading up to that where there really weren't many opportunities for muscular women aside from, you know, like the cam stuff and like the kind of gray stuff, and nothing wrong with that because the guys do it, but it's just like there was a real lack of opportunity. And so a lot of those like troll, like, you know, people were all over the place, and including some big names today that have sort of like reinvented themselves. They were very critical of women's bodybuilding and even women's physique to a certain point too. It's interesting though, because you know, a lot of the people, a lot of the biggest haters are actually secretly attracted to the look, and they secretly want the attention. It's very bizarre, because also, like, in my life, I've come to the realization that some of the most homophobic people are actually gay. And
Yeah.
I don't understand why. I think it's a combination of resentment that others are open and they can't be. Maybe it's, you know, repressed feeling. I don't know what it is, but it takes so much effort to go out and try to bring someone else down. There's always a lot more to it than appears on the surface, you know?
Absolutely. You know, I mean, I think a lot of the haters we get typically seem to be white men. I mean, that seems to be the biggest demographic. Um, I think our biggest advocates and the ones that like us the most actually seem to be Black men. I don't know if an athletic physique to them is more attractive.
Mhm.
Um, you know, and I think, you know, maybe to your, I don't want to kind of categorize, you
Say
know, but,
whatever you want. Say whatever you want.
you know, to your, I don't know what it is with white guys that we're more threatening for some reason.
I don't know. That's a very interesting. I mean, and you know, and there's nothing wrong with observing. If this is the reality that you have observed, then it's totally fine to talk about it. And you know, I know. Look, a very little man would be intimidated by a muscular woman. You know, just for the fact that she had muscle. You know, like
Right.
that would to me scream insecurity. It would scream inferiority complex. It would scream all sorts of inadequacies. Nothing to do with the woman or the muscle she carries, all to do with the
Oh,
guy who's intimidated by it.
sure.
You know what I mean? And so to me, that's just, yeah. But I have seen like and it is really crazy because, like, if you don't like it, don't look. But the thing is, they can't stop looking. They can't stop. They're, you know what I mean? Like, they're totally into it. And I don't know what it is. It's really bizarre. But I also like what you said earlier about the memes I didn't see, but I like that you said that even though some of the comments were rough, and even though the memes maybe were taking some indirect shots, you were able to laugh, and you were still able, because the thing is, like, I do believe there's no such thing as bad publicity. I mean, you, as long as
Great.
you're being talked about, it's good. Now, granted, like, some of the
Yeah.
comments probably went a little too far, but if you can still laugh at part of it, you're actually reaping all of the buzz off of it, which I think is really good. I think it's really like big picture of you. And the last thing I'll say, and I'll be quiet, is that you know, it's one of those things, really truly, like, where, you know, when the person had told you you have haters, you finally made it. If you think about it, haters spend, and I have quite a few of them, haters spend all day and night plotting ways to bring you down. Now, they always fail, but the beauty of it is that they do make you famous. They really do.
They do. They absolutely do. You know, that publicity is great. And that's what I told some of the people. I can't tell you how many people messaged me with those memes. Like, oh my God, did you see this? And every single person was so fired up. You know, the first one was, so it's all of us, and we're kind of sideways, so you can see all of our jacked arms, right? So the
Mhm.
meme says the hand job competition winners.
Oh my
I'm like,
gosh.
it's so fucking funny, right? Sorry.
Yeah, of course. That's totally funny. Yeah.
Funny. And people were so offended. I'm like, lighten up. You know, if anything
Yeah.
people do right now is to laugh. It's funny, you
No,
know,
it
I'm
is.
not,
It's totally funny. It's totally
and
funny. And
500,000 shares and 500,000 comments and likes and stuff. I'm like, and I'm standing there with the best women bodybuilders in the world. I'm like, comment all you want, bite
of
me, you know.
course. And
You know,
everybody's going to stand sideways because everybody's trying to outflex and out angle everybody else. I mean, it's bodybuilding, it's physique based sport. Bikini girls do that too. Everybody does that. And, you know, if I ever have an arm that looks halfway decent, I'll do it too. And it's like, you know what I mean? But yeah, no, and I totally hear what you're saying. And to me, it's crazy though, you know, memes and all these things and Reddits and all this, but really all it is like they can't get enough. They just can't get enough. And honestly, it's always been the fact with muscular women. And, you know, like I said, the people that hate it the most are the most attracted to it. And for
yeah,
whatever reason, they just want to attack it. I don't get it personally, but I do think though that, like you said, if you can take some of it in stride, I think that's the way to go. You know,
I mean, you gotta take all of it in stride. I mean, like I said, there's a couple times I've retorted, you know. I mean, and sometimes it's just a private message back, and I'm just usually like, "Why are you such a hater? What's wrong with
right?
you?" You know, and they
And
can never answer that because there's no good answer, you know.
right.
So they usually say something hateful back, and that's when you're just like, and then you start feeling bad for them. You know,
Mhm.
they probably have a really sad, sorry little life.
Pretty much. And you know, there's a couple other things too. I mean, because we could totally talk about this. Is awesome. It's awesome. It's depressing, but it's awesome. There's other types of haters too, and not just on social media, but in the gym. I don't know if it's ever happened to you, but you clearly look like you've built a great physique, like you know your way around a gym, like you train people. But I'm sure like you've probably had like a middle age or an old guy come up to you and try to tell you how to lift properly, and they don't know their head from their ass, but like they figure like they've got to like sort of assert themselves. You know, I've seen that happen in the gym, and I've also seen in the gym too, Gina, which is even more upsetting than that, is when women, I hate to say it, but women almost look at other women like in a sort of kind of way, like when they like stray away from the cardio equipment and start lifting the iron. I don't know what it is, but like some women kind of give it to other women too if they develop a level of muscle that they see as being too much,
Right.
which is
You
stupid.
I don't know where those phobias and those issues come from. I mean, whatever level of muscle you're happy with and you know you're comfortable with, go for it. That being said, everybody needs some. You know, if your life is going to be spent on a treadmill or an elliptical and you're not going to lift weights, you're going to be skinny fat. You know, you're not going to be ideally healthy. You need muscle mass with your body. You need it as your age. You need it for your core strength. You need it to boost your metabolism. It's essential. We have muscle in our bodies for a reason. You
Mhm.
know, the fact that we make ours bigger and larger, you know, yeah, we're doing something to an extreme, but everybody needs it. So,
Right.
you know, there's everybody needs to get comfortable with lifting weights and having some type of resistance training to some degree. Um, you know,
Definitely.
in the gym it would always amaze me. You would see, you know, as a personal trainer, you'd see the 80-year-old person who lifted their whole life. They're in incredible shape and they're, you know, look great, feel great. And then you got the 70-year-old that comes in with their walker, um, trying to recapture what they've already lost,
Right. Yeah.
right? You know, so we can make those decisions and those changes and do things for our health now. It's the best insurance we've got. You know, I say that
Mhm.
we do routine maintenance and upkeep maintenance on everything we own, right? Our car, our house, our computer, all shit we can replace. And we don't do it, perform maintenance on our bodies, and we get one.
Right.
We blow them out, we abuse them, we ruin them, and then expect medicine and miracles to fix it when we're 70.
Right.
You
And
know,
that's why some people, like, you know, especially in this industry, uh you know, could be 60 and look, you know, 40, you know, and there's people that don't take care of themselves and they look like they've been through a war and they're not even like old enough to retire. It really, it just depends. I'm fat, I'm obese, and I'm trying, and I've been lean and now I'm getting back on it. But like, even if you don't compete, just the fact that you go to the gym, like, but you said and saying obese is like horrible, you know, but I have to say it, that's the first step, is not being in denial, you know, but it's so important to like take care of yourself. And like you said, people take care of everything but themselves. And a lot of people, Gina, only go to the doctor when they're like basically with one foot in the grave. You know what I mean? Like that's how bad they have to be just to go to the doctor. So yeah. The only other question I have for you, and I think everything you said was so on point. You're a coach also, and you have
yes.
clients, but I want to know, how you are with Helle. Like, I want to know how you make the transition from, okay, I'm not a coach now, I am an athlete. In other words, like, do you put all of your faith in her, and or as a part of you, like, talk to me about that dynamic, like where you turn off being a coach and you become a full athlete?
Yeah, you almost have to. I've gone through coaching myself. I've had coaches, um, and I definitely prefer to have one, because there's a lot to be said for having that accountability, for having that second set of eyes, for having that person that just goes, "You're being a moron. You look great. Chill out." You know. Um, and when it comes to me, I'm not necessarily a control freak, but I like to be in control. And I definitely like to have some control with my coaching. So, um, Helen and I are just starting to work together. So we're kind of working out that dynamic. She is a very much of a coach that is like, this is what you're going to do it. So we're kind of working out how I'm the athlete goes, but why? And why do you want me to do that? I ask a lot of questions. I want to know why I'm doing what I'm doing. I want to discuss it. I want to have a strategy. I want to have a plan. So, you know, and for me with her, she's to me the absolute best coach in the world for me. I mean, she's achieved what I want to achieve. Um, so I couldn't think of anybody better. I've already, even in the short time I've been with her, I'm already seeing incredible progress and gains. So
That's awesome. And that's a very honest answer. And you're right. I mean, like, when you start a relationship, a coaching relationship, any relationship, business relationship, at first you have to kind of like learn how each other works, how each other thinks, and come up with a good working program. So I think that's a very
yeah,
honest answer, and I appreciate that very much.
yeah. I mean, my last coach, and he's a big name coach, love him to death. He's an awesome coach. Didn't work for me, and it was because of that relationship thing. Not everybody clicks, and clicking with your coach, to me, it's essential. I've got to have a coach that I feel very like emotionally attached to. It's almost like a marriage. You trust them implicitly, with your health, with your life, and with to me, the biggest goal that I have, and that's getting on stage and crushing it. Um, so
Yeah, I mean, you were such a great ambassador. Honestly, I think you'd be a great ambassador for Titan, for Wings of Strength, for any company, anyone, because a couple of things there that you said too, like you spoke very highly of your former coach, even though it may not have worked out. You spoke very highly. That's something that in this industry, unfortunately, doesn't really happen. Like a lot of times when folks move on from a coach, they burn the bridge, and it's like if they say anything at all, it's nothing positive. So you did say something positive, and the bridge is very much there, and it may not
yeah,
work, may
never
not have
do it
worked out, but it's
fast,
great.
you know. I always try never to burn bridges. I mean, does
Right,
it happen?
exactly.
You never know. You might need to cross the river.
Exactly. And the other thing too is that you said that you put full faith in the coach. And that is also amazing, because in the industry also a lot of times coaches get blamed for everything. But if a competitor is second guessing the coach, is it really all the coach's fault? So I think if you're gonna truly give a coach a chance, you're gonna give the coach, that commitment to follow the plan, to stick to the plan. And that's what you're doing. And like you said, she even said how impressed she was with how much mass and how much muscle you've gained in such a short amount of time. So it's great. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love having somebody that understands me. I mean,
Mhm.
there's no aspect of bodybuilding and how it dictates my life that Hella doesn't understand. We're very much similar creatures when it comes to that. I hung out in California with her for a few weeks, a little over a month ago, and she's actually coming here. She's in about a week and a half. She's gonna come for a couple weeks, and it's like hanging out with yourself, because you do the same things, you have the same routines, and it's almost kind of refreshing to go, okay, there's somebody like me, you know.
And I'm sorry to be a fanboy here, but she is such a superstar. And like you said, she has done everything you want to do. And I think that's really important, because there's a camp that says, like, you don't have to look like a bodybuilder as long as you have the knowledge. But my gosh, if you look like the bodybuilder and you have the knowledge, that's it. I mean, that you take that all the way to the bank. So
Yeah.
all right. Well, I really appreciate you doing this, and I really hope that we can do this again.
Cheers.
Yeah, I think that you're going to be just an amazing pro. I think you're going to be an asset to any company you work with. And with Helle, I mean, who the hell knows what you're going to do? I think it's going to be big, big things. So I want to really, really thank you for doing this interview and the Instagram interview. And just, I hope we do a lot more of this in the future.
Same here. I really appreciate the time and getting to talk and share about my life and my passion. I appreciate the platform more than you know.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so very much. For IFBB Pro Gina Cavaliero, this is Christian Duke, StrengthAddicts.com.
Peace.